We'll talk a little bit about our ecosystem and our partners and why our partnership is so important to Vulcan. Before I introduce our speakers, I do want to talk a little bit about our connector engine. Now, at the top of the session, Yaniv spoke about that ever-growing ecosystem of tools that you may be using at your organization. You guys are more than welcome to put down in the chat how many security tools you estimate you may have in your organization. Usually they're tens, if not hundreds of different tools. And Vulcan sees it really important to bring that entire ecosystem together. So we have over 100 out-of-the-box connectors. So we're able to, out-of-the-box, connect with many, many solutions. But I think what's really unique about Vulcan is that we have a very low-code way to integrate with any solution. So even if you have a very unique security solution that not many people have, or even if you have a homegrown solution that you guys built on your own that's scanning for vulnerabilities, we'll be able, within a couple of minutes, to integrate with that. And that's a huge benefit for companies who want to see the entire ecosystem, their entire attack surface in one single platform with Vulcan. So if you want to learn more about this integration engine, and if you're a Vulcan customer that has something that they haven't integrated yet, reach out to your Vulcan representative. If you are not a Vulcan user, now's the time to click on the link below and talk to one of our super talented salespeople. Now, in my opinion, this is the most exciting part of our session. We will meet some of our top leaders of our partners. We try to choose partners from different walks of life and that touch the life cycle at different stages to learn more about how they look at vulnerabilities and how, together with Vulcan, they provide a really unique value. So up first, we have Anam, who is from product manager from Wiz. And just for the fun of it, and I'm a control freak, so I will be passing out the slides for you. I hope that's okay. And I will hand it over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Yitzi. We can hop into my first slide here. So as we know, moving to the cloud has fully changed the way security works. It's really changed the environment that you're seeing and that you're securing. So first of all, from that multi-cloud and ephemeral architecture perspective, it's also changed the types of risks that you're seeing. We're seeing the ability to be able to expose resources to the public internet, but also you don't even need internet exposure in the cloud to be able to get into the cloud through an identity. And then we're also changing the ownership model as well, right? There are multiple people that are owning one cloud environment. Maybe there's one team that owns multiple cloud environments. There's a lot of directions in the way that cloud environments are owned today. So with Wiz, we decided that there needs to be a new approach to cloud security, and we approach it in four main parts. First thing that we're doing is we're agentlessly scanning to cloud workloads. Basically, what we're doing is we're going through the API that these CSPs expose. So it ends up being a 100% API-based approach. Through that, we're understanding what resources are running in the cloud environment today. And we're looking across not just AWS, Azure, GCP, but we're also looking at Oracle and AliCloud. And we're understanding, okay, are there virtual machines, containers, serverless functions, platform as a service? And from there, we're really starting to dive deep into the workload context. So we're starting to pull things like vulnerabilities and misconfigurations. We're looking at malware that might exist, clear text keys, or even sensitive data discovery. And then basically what we're doing is we're running our risk engines on top to start to understand, do you have external exposure, excessive permissions in the environment, any exposed secrets, or also potential for lateral movement in the environment. We also combine in our threat research team and the findings that they're producing. So they're actually pen testing CSPs. They're looking for vulnerabilities out in the wild, and they're writing in all those detections back into the Wiz platform to really start to add that extra layer of context in the environment. And then really the third and beautiful part of the Wiz platform is we're mapping out everything on a graph database in the back end. And that really allows us to break down silos that exist between having multiple different point solutions in the environment, and allows us to add in a lot more context to say things like, does the VM have vulnerabilities? Does it have also internet exposure attached to it? Does it have a highly privileged role? And really understand what that entire attack vector is. And then from there, we're basically able to prioritize what are the most critical risks that exist in the cloud environment, and then integrate with partners like Vulcan, for example, to be able to send out our enriched findings and vulnerabilities out to those platforms through our open API platform, and through that approach. We can go to the next slide now, Yitzi. So great, thank you. Focusing in really on the integration now that we've recently built out with Vulcan. As we know, Vulcan's allowing customers to correlate and prioritize and manage vulnerability risks across all the attack surfaces in one place. So really this joint integration enables our mutual customers to send vulnerabilities from Wiz to Vulcan in order to really consolidate findings centrally. So the benefit that customers are seeing is they get that comprehensive view of vulnerability postures and being able to deduplicate the findings in order to prioritize remediation actions. So for example, we have mutual customers that have on-prem infrastructure where Wiz isn't being used, where we can't scan. So they have other vulnerability scanners in place. So rather than looking at multiple tools, they have that ability to get all of their findings in one place in Vulcan and understand across all of these different findings what are the most prevalent vulnerabilities, and then get that Vulcan context and enrichment to understand what direction to take their remediation. And really the best part of it all is it's a really simple process to set up. You can very quickly go into Wiz, create a service account for Vulcan, and input that information back into Vulcan to set up that connector. Cool.
Okay, thank you so much. I know that the Vulcan integration with Wiz is a very hot topic, so I really appreciate your time and also the ongoing relationship that our companies have. Up next, we have Steve. Steve is from Checkmarx, also a very hot integration that we got, so I'm excited to hear his hot take on Checkmarx, Checkmarx One, and together with Vulcan. So Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Yitzi, for having me. I appreciate it. For folks that maybe aren't familiar with Checkmarx, we like to consider ourselves as one of the industry's most comprehensive application security platforms. And much like Vulcan, I think, actually, Yitzi, you were saying earlier, right, like the number of tools that organizations have for security today, it's kind of mind-boggling. One of the things that we've kind of helped focus on is consolidation of these tools, much similar to like how Vulcan works with aggregating data. And kind of our motto is we want to help organizations make shift happen. So we talk about, well, what does that mean? Well, regardless if your organization's focusing on, shifting left and helping developers, or you're looking at shifting right and working to secure runtime data, we want to help organizations shift everywhere. We recognize that it's all important, and we provide a number of different application security engines to help developers get the best out of their code today, right? So we have within our platform, the Checkmarx One platform, we have access to our SAST engine for static application security testing. We also offer software composition analysis for open source, supply chain security, infrastructure as code, container scanning, dynamic application security testing, and just recently launched API security as well. So developers have access to all of these different engines from which that they can scan across. And what do we know? Engines, when you're scanning regularly, produce a whole heck of a lot of findings and data. One of the absolute best things that we're trying to do is help developers prioritize those findings. And what better way to do that since to actually integrate with our friends at Vulcan. So let's jump over and we'll take a look at the next slide, and we'll talk a little bit about how Checkmarx One and Vulcan are really better together, right? And this is some of the things our customers have reached out and asked us for. We're excited to help bring it into the market. So let's talk about it a little bit. When we think about why we're better together, first, our integration is allowing for really what I'll think of as like a seamless orchestration and automation for security actions. Vulcan is leveraging Checkmarx scanning ability. It integrates them really into their automated workflows. This means security scans and actions can be initiated automatically, saving time and effort for your security teams. Second, what I think is pretty neat is this idea of real-time threat response becomes a reality, right? We can use Vulcan's monitoring capabilities and immediately detect emerging threats. And when we combine that with Checkmarx findings, the response to those threats becomes even more accurate and swift. So the collaboration that we're seeing between these two products is helping ensure that the security incidents that we're finding can be addressed proactively, and that we're reducing the potential impact on the applications and the systems. Third, the integration provides amazing visibility into application security. It's one of the things that we constantly tell our customers, right? You're not going to protect what you don't have visibility into. And so anywhere we can shine a flashlight into kind of the hidden corners of our applications and kind of understand what's lurking there, the better off we are. So Checkmarx code level analysis works with Vulcan IO's monitoring and orchestration capabilities to really offer a unique, unified view of security across the entire developmental lifecycle. So this holistic visibility is empowering organizations to have a clear understanding of their security posture, identify their vulnerabilities, and make informed decisions to help them mitigate risk effectively. So if you're not familiar with Checkmarx, please come check us out. Together, we really are helping organizations make a difference, and we'd like to think that we can help them make shift happen.
Thanks so much, Steve. Definitely, if you are interested, and if I'm definitely interested, so I'll stop by the virtual booth, and I would encourage you to do so as well. Thank you so much, Steve.
Hey, thanks so much, Itzy. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Up next, we have Yochai from Cyberint. Yochai is the CEO of Cyberint, and they've been doing some really new and innovative things that I hope he'll be able to share with us today. So Yochai, take it away.
Thank you very much. So Cyberint, can you hear me well, just to verify?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, great. So Cyberint tried to tackle the challenge of understanding the risk from the outside. In this slide, trying to show that every organizations today have a very complex attack surface, which includes, of course, the IPs and domains, but also the management and third-party applications and development environment. And on the bottom side, we can see the threat actors really trying to get in. And it's really interesting to see how they work together. There are a few billions of dollars of exchange between different threat actors with different professions. Some will find the vulnerabilities, others will develop the tools, others will do operations. And there's a lot of commerce and chatter and information exchange between them in the darknet, and not only trying to find the ways in. Cyberint, just as a background, what we're trying to do is from the outside, we don't need initially an installation or integration, try to accomplish the following. On the top hand, we try to identify and discover what is the attack surface of the organization. And it is very surprising again and again to see how much people are not aware of what they actually have to protect. Someone in the past registered the domain. There's someone in DevOps that set up a new instance and the cyber team is not aware of, etc., etc. So our goal is immediately to continuously identify the potential places where hacker can find. So this is identifying your attack surface. And then, of course, looking for any misconfiguration, human errors, or other windows of opportunity the hackers can get in. And we combine that on the bottom part with ability to intercept all the traffic between the threat actors. So open, deep, and dark web, which covers mostly two areas. One, discussion, chatter, commerce of threat actors that could mention our customers and its assets. And on the other hand, mistakes people are doing by uploading sensitive data that hackers can find as well in source code repositories, antivirus repositories, and other areas, and alert our customers about it. So if you can move to the next one. When we look at threat intelligence, Cyberint is, among others, a threat intelligence company, we can see three generations. From the bottom, the first generation is ability to use IOCs, IPs, hashes, URLs, etc. That, of course, requires a lot of work on the side of the customer to be able to consume those and see which of them is relevant. Of course, the vast majority of IOCs is not relevant to your specific organization. The next level of threat for threat intelligence, the second generation, talks about ability to do threat actor monitoring and track specific groups and understand their infrastructure and TTPs. Again, something that is not easy to operationalize. Cyberint came with the approach of impactful intelligence. Impactful intelligence is about the ability to provide a tailored intelligence to the specific organization. So every information, every alert is related to you. It's high fidelity with almost no false positive, no noise. So everything we find is actually something you should handle. And actually, there's a clear indication of the impact level and the quantified risk that could be reduced by remediating. So every alert provided is actually remediated, or there is a possibility to remediate it. So impactful intelligence is this very unique combination of tailored, high fidelity, and with the remediation capability. You can move to the next one. So Cyberint platform today, Argos, includes actually several areas, all coming from the outside. On the one hand, threat intelligence, so open, deep, and dark web monitoring, really deep capability to collect credentials from info stealers and others, which is today the number one attack vector today. Account takeover is the number one ways people get into an organization, as well as threat actors and IOCs. On the attack surface management part, as I said, ability to identify what is the attack surface, what errors and configurations mistakes are there, and of course, full CV intelligence, so our ability to identify the CVs and give our perspective, among others, from the darknet, whether exploitations, etc. We add on top of that the category named in Gartner Digital Risk Protection, which includes identifying phishing attacks and lookalike domain monitoring, social media impersonation, brand monitoring, VAP and fraud. These are all part of different attack techniques that hackers can use, and we are looking for those infrastructure. And lately, we also added supply chain intelligence, which tries to answer 3 questions. Who are your suppliers? Try automatically to answer at least some of those. What is the current risk? And when something really happens, for example, when a supplier goes into a ransomware or there's a critical vulnerability, we want to be the one responsible to alert you that that's something you need to take action with. And lastly, this goes into remediation. So if there is a phishing site or source code that is exposed, we can take care of the remediation for a very fast and effective by doing very fast and effective takedown, or of course integrate to initiate a process internally. And that is overlaid when needed with our expert analyst that can give additional contextualization and actually go into the darknet and talk to the threat actor and understand the information offered for sale, what is the context of it, how they achieved it, received it, and is there a specific example. So together, this is Cyberint today. And if you can go to the last one, at the end of the day, I think Vulcan and Cyberint are doing very well together in several areas. One is, of course, vulnerability intelligence. We have our vulnerability intelligence feeds, which allows to verify that you can prioritize the remediation. Add the attack surface, external attack surface discovery to verify you understand your external facing assets, which are, of course, with higher criticality than internal ones. Identity intelligence, we have a very good coverage of credentials that are offered for sales and shared among others, and this helps to verify that the identity is not compromised. And as we said before, supply chain, so where are suppliers and how they could impact your security. So thank you very much, and I think this joint solution gives a really good perspective and integration between the solutions. Thank you, Itzi.
Thank you, Chai. And yeah, definitely there's a lot to take in here of the two companies together. And if this interests you, I would encourage you to learn more. Thank you again for your time. We are nearing the top of the hour, and we saved the best for last.
Thanks,
Yochai's still here. I feel bad saying that. No, but everyone was great. But Andrew, I think there's no one better to finish this session with CTCI. Andrew, you lead. You're the CEO of CTCI, and tell us a little bit about it. I think our listeners would have a lot to learn from your couple of minutes.
Yeah, sure. If we take through the slides, so I'm Andrew Grilly. I'm the CEO of Cyber Threat Counterintelligence. We're going to talk about something cool. I'm excited to present something cool to you. We're a startup, and we want to create a cool company. And we want to do a cool product. So we created a product called Cool. Cool is the CV early warning list. So it is what vulnerabilities are getting exploited in the wild by threat actors or about to be exploited in the wild by threat actors. As you may know, 60% of all compromises today are from unpatched vulnerabilities. And it's really hard to determine, hey, what should I patch? And a little dirty secret is, threat actors don't care about CVSS scores. right? So in the cool list, we see just as many small, low and medium CVS scores being in our list than critical, which means it's really important to be able to patch what are based on what threat actors are exploiting or they're about to exploit. And for cool, we focus on three things. We focus on timeliness, accuracy, and coverage. If you know sooner and know for sure, you can take action and not be compromised. So how do we compare to other things you talked about today, like Octavia with EPSS and CISA? If we go to the next slide. So with EPSS2, if you used EPS2 and you matched it to our data, which is the 2,100 entries, you would find out you'd missed 93% of all the attacks, which is really a big miss. And if you use EPSS3, which is better than EPSS V2, so if you're on EPS V2, upgrade to EPS V3, you would have missed 75% of attacks. That numerically means about 1,500 out of the 2,100 entries. So it's really important to patch based on what threat actors are exploiting in the wild or about to exploit in the wild. We're also producing a white paper on this that we'll be releasing. So we go to the next slide. How do we compare to CISA, which is just like us? We're risk-based, we're evidence-based. And if you go to our LinkedIn, we love to go to our LinkedIn for CTCI, you'll see countless entries that have 6 months earlier, 8.5 months earlier, 40 days earlier, 30 days earlier, 2.5 years earlier, because we focus on what threat actors are exploiting the wild or about to exploit in the wild. And how we do that is different than how a lot of organizations do that today. And if we go to the next slide, we can see how we do that today. So the first thing we do is custom and target honeypots. These are not sensor networks. They're targeted. We're trying to lure the threat actor to do an exploit in our environment. We do it in business verticals, technology, geography. We do it on phones, NGOs, all those different parts to lure the threat actor to compromise that vulnerability. The next, we use AI-assisted collection analysis. And hey, we love ChatGPT. Our name is Cognitive Intelligence. We've been using cognitive intelligence. You know, I say BC before ChatGPT because the world's changed since that. And when we mentioned that years ago, people were like, oh, that's cool. Now everyone knows cognitive intelligence, which is awesome. What we do, instead of looking for what other people do, look for CVEs like 2019 07 08, which is Bluekeep. We search for this threat actor is trying to land EIP on Windows. And that means it's a threat determination. So we do have all these different models and different way of collecting for that information. And we base that on admiralty score and base it on multiple sources to make sure it meets the right threat profile to add it to cool. And the last one we do is research and signals intelligence. Our simple example we have a thing called a threat clock, which if Bitcoin goes up to 56,000 again, you'll see a lot of people compromising JBoss servers on a 2014 vulnerability using serialization, deserialization bugs, but they'll spend time of working a way around the fixes and they'll do that. And we'll see that. The other part there is something no one does today in this level of vulnerability prioritization intelligence is every patch Tuesday, Oracle CPU, Oracle patch, Linux patches, we go through and do a bin diff, then run a SAT SMT solver and see the differences in the code and run an automatic exploit generation and see if we've seen that in the 120 0 days we're tracking in our honeypots, or add that to our honeypot to now have that detection, or see it in our intelligence collection. And that way that triangulation that we do allows us to be the best vulnerability intelligence out there, because we're taking 3 different areas and 5 different paths to check that, hey, this is really happening in the wild. And we love Vulcan, right? Vulcan we think is absolutely tremendous, because as we're looking at the world today, we're increasing the amount of scanners. We've got VM scanners, ASM scanners, cloud scanners, firmware scanners, SBOM scanners. Like this number of scanners goes on and on and on. And you need one place to manage that risk. And we think Vulcan is tremendous for that. And the other thing there is we went to Vulcan and said, hey, we think your vulnerability prioritization could be better if you used our intelligence. And Vulcan grabbed our intelligence for over 6 months and saw the new entries and how early we were. And they came back to us, and for an Israeli firm to come back to us and say, hey, this is the best vulnerability intelligence in the world, we'd love to do an integration. And we said, that's fantastic. We think it's the best too, because it's our company, right? Because it's cool. So we added cool to Vulcan. And if we go Next slide. So if you add cool, the best we think vulnerability intelligence with Vulcan, you get, and we want you to drink the Kool-Aid, right? It's the whole idea is that we want you to, it's a commercial upgrade and license to use it to be the best vulnerability prioritization in the world. We want you to use Kool-Aid, and we want you to base your patching based on what threat actors are doing in the world and what they're exploiting to be safer and not to be compromised. It's really important out there, because if you see the amount of things that people are missing, and we see a large lows, we've got like 75 below 5 and below 3 of what threat actors are using, and no one's looking at them, but they are being compromised in the world. So I'd love you to contact me, or Michael is the chief threat officer, the brains behind this company, is on the booth. And for any questions, that would be fantastic. Or yes, I'm Andrew at ctci.ai, or contact Vulcan and have a drink of the Kool-Aid and trial it. It's fantastic. Thank you.
I'm definitely drinking the Kool-Aid. Andrew, thank you so much. And for everyone, all the partners who attended today and took a little bit of their time to speak to us, I really do appreciate it.